Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us on your Friday. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Russ Riesinger. Tonight, Iran vows revenge against America.
And President Trump says he's not backing down after he ordered a drone strike that killed Major General Qasem Soleimani at the Baghdad International Airport.
President Trump told the nation Soleimani was planning imminent attacks against Americans as tensions with Tehran reached a new high.
CBS News correspondent Natalie Brand has more from Capitol Hill.
We took action last night to stop a war. We did not take action to start a war.
President Trump says he ordered the strike that killed a top Iranian general to thwart attacks on Americans.
Soleimani was plotting imminent and sinister attacks on American diplomats and military personnel, but we caught him in the act and terminated him.
A senior administration official tells CBS News the cabinet was in full agreement on the drone strike that killed Qasem Soleimani at the Baghdad International Airport.
He was actively plotting in the region to take actions, a big action as he described it, that would have put dozens, if not hundreds of American lives at risk.
The order came following growing tensions leading up to a rocket attack last Friday that killed an American contractor on an Iraqi base, and in the wake of this week's violent protests at the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. Iran's supreme leader met with Soleimani's family and vowed forceful revenge for his death.
If Americans anywhere are threatened, I am ready and prepared to take whatever action is necessary.
Lawmakers are divided over the strike, with a number of Republicans praising the decision and many Democrats worried about escalating an already volatile situation.
There was a threat. The time and place is a question that I still need to get answered.
I recommend that all senators wait to review the facts.
The U.S. is sending an additional 3,000 troops to the Middle East, and local law enforcement agencies across the country have been advised to remain vigilant. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Well, the acting secretary of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security says at this time there is no specific credible threat against the nation.
Well, the Senate is back for the new year, but lawmakers don't appear to be any closer to an agreement on impeachment trial procedures.
Now, this after the House passed 2 articles of impeachment against President Trump last month on charges of abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. Today, Kentucky Senator Majority Leader Mitch McConnell suggested the question of calling witnesses should be settled after the trial's already begun.
The senator's role in an impeachment trial is nothing like the job of jurors in the legal system.
He's essentially proposing to conduct the whole trial, and then, once the trial is basically over, consider the question of evidence. That makes no sense. That's Alice in Wonderland logic.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has consistently warned she will not hand over the articles of impeachment until there are assurances for a fair trial in the Senate.
Well, the official search for a missing 16-year-old girl who reportedly wandered off from a broken-down vehicle between Billings and Hardin on New Year's Eve is called off tonight.
But the investigation is growing. Q2's David Shea standing by now with the very latest in the search for Selena Not Afraid. David.
Jeanelle and Russ, investigators interviewed the people who were riding with Selena Not Afraid on New Year's Day and have been searching 2 other places along Interstate 90. Bighorn County Sheriff Pete Bighair says the search moved to also include the Toluca off-ramp, exit 484, and exit 491, which he called the washout. 2 locations those involved said the van stalled. Bighair says crews continue to search the rest area, exit 476, where Not Afraid was left with a woman, and then reportedly walked into the field. On Wednesday and Thursday, about 100 searched 3 to 5 mile radius on each day. Bighair was told that 2 men and 2 women in their 20s left because the driver was afraid his van would stall again. When another ride arrived, Not Afraid was not there, and the sheriff says he's been getting different stories.
If I was confident, I wouldn't be having them to go back and revisit with them. From conflicting stories from the original interviews and then the second interview, that led us to re-interview them again. When they left the second time they stalled, she could have maybe got off there. So that's why we're checking that area, just to make sure. Because this is 2 areas that they stopped before they got to Hardin.
Sheriff Bighair says investigators will look at other possible leads, and the official search ended tonight, but he expects family and friends will keep looking in those areas. Jeanelle?
All right, thanks so much, David. Well, tonight, another major twist in an already convoluted Billings murder. It started with a report of a fatal crash on New Year's Eve, turned homicide the next day. And now a Billings man accused of killing his wife has taken his own life in jail. Late this afternoon, authorities confirmed that Daniel Shine, accused of killing 72-year-old Celia Shine before he crashed their car into a power pole, committed suicide last night. Yellowstone County Sheriff Mike Linder says early this morning a detention officer found Shine unconscious in his cell. When authorities first responded to the New Year's Eve crash on Molt Road, Celia Shine was found dead. Her husband Daniel was injured. An autopsy found Celia died of multiple blunt force injuries hours before that crash, and Daniel Shine was arrested the next day. He faced charges of deliberate homicide and tampering with or fabricating physical evidence and was set to appear in court today. Now, Billings police tell us they will fully complete the homicide investigation to try to help family and the community get some, if any, closure.
People living in Montana's smallest incorporated city will have a little more trouble getting their mail. In the town of Ismay, east of Miles City, a midnight fire destroyed the post office. Local fire crews tell us when they arrived on scene, flames were bursting through the roof. That building, estimated to be around 100 years old, eventually collapsed. Later today, crews soaked down the building to make sure new flames didn't spark. The fire chief tells us U.S. Postal Service representatives were at the scene working on contingency plans to keep mail service operating. Cause of that fire is still under investigation.
Well, a Butte man chased down an alleged hit-and-run driver last night and held the suspect with zip ties until police arrived. Butte police arrested Dylan Anderson after he allegedly hit another vehicle in central Butte just after 8 p.m. Thursday. Another driver then followed Anderson from the scene. Now, police tell us when he got out of his vehicle and tried to escape, the other citizen tackled Anderson and restrained his hands with zip ties.
We'd rather you call us and let us chase the bad guys and make the arrests, but in this case it worked out, and nobody was injured.
Now, that suspect also faces a drunk driving charge.
The preliminary report about the New Year's avalanche that claimed the lives of 2 Anaconda men has now been released. The investigation says Wednesday's slide near Seeley Lake was triggered after 2 of the 3 snowmobilers tried to help the third one, who was stuck on a slope. The report states the area was under an avalanche warning at the time, and when the third rider parked next to the stuck snowmobiler, the avalanche triggered and swept all 3 of them down the hill. Just one of the riders was able to dig himself out and call for help.
On the weather scene tonight, it's the topic touching all of Montana as high winds dominate our skies. Q2 Chief Forecaster Bob McGuire here to bring us the very latest.
I'm afraid so. Another windy night across the big sky. Let me show you where we're at right now as far as the winds are concerned. Still raging pretty bad. You can see the colored areas. That's like 31 to 40 mile per hour winds up and down the eastern slopes of the divide. Let me show you some of the high winds we've had today. Places like near Ringling, 85 mile per hour winds. East Glacier, 78, 67 in Mammoth Hot Springs. We had 65 mile per hour winds at Zortman, McDonald Pass 60, and Big Timber had 59 mile per hour winds. Now, we have a wind advisory for the Beartooth foothills to 65 mile per hour winds expected right on through Sunday morning. In west central Montana, it's up to 50 to 70 miles per hour. It's also a winter weather advisory around Glacier National Park, 1 to 3 inches of snow in the valleys and 3 to 6 up in the passes. And look at the rest of Montana. That's a high wind watch or high wind warnings anywhere from 50 to 60, 70, even 90 mile per hour winds are possible on Saturday. It's going to be a breezy weekend. We'll have the rest of your forecast in a few more minutes.
All right, thanks so much, Bob. Well, influenza is impacting people in all parts of Montana, and the numbers are up again this week. There were 307 new cases reported for the week of December 29th, 57 of those here in Yellowstone County. So far this flu season, Montana has seen 789 cases. 46 of those have been hospitalized. No deaths have been reported. Gallatin County has seen the most cases this season with 221. Yellowstone County comes in second with 134.
Well, this evening kicked off downtown Billings' First Friday. First Fridays take place the first week of each month and are intended to highlight all that downtown Billings has to offer. Each Friday features different themes, and this one was Fire and Ice, with hot chocolate being offered. Businesses stayed open a little later, and local musical artists will be highlighted. First Fridays offer family-friendly activities and discounted and specialty food items at a variety of restaurants.
Stuff happening. I mean, it's not even just happening the first Friday of the month, it's happening every day of the month, but we wanted to highlight at least one day a month. And there are retails, there's entertainment hotspots and restaurants all over. There's also more and more family fun activities popping up, so that's been really good I think, for Billings. So.
And for a full list of participating locations, you can visit KTVQ.com.
Well, straight ahead on your Q2 Friday Night News, a former Bozeman physician and major philanthropist has passed away, but her legacy will live on forever in the community.
And in sports, take your pick between college ball, high school ball, and wrestling. Scott delivers all three, plus opening night of another PBR season.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.